Hello, everybody. This is day 5 of the 30-day challenge, and I wanted to talk about something that was kind of, I guess, a conversation that's going on right now, but it doesn't seem a lot of times that people really put the numbers down, right? They just hear this thing, and so right now there's a big fight about minimum wage, right? And we're hearing folks pitch the $15 an hour bit, and there's people on both sides of it, but I wanted to kind of put it into perspective for people to think about, and then honestly, from a heart of service, ask what people's solution is. So right now, minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. Okay, so that works out to, let's just say $7 an hour, 40 hours a week, $280, $560, $1220 before taxes, roughly about $13,000 a year. Okay, so let's say somebody decides they're going to work 40 hours a week, if their job will let them, and then they decide to even work 2 jobs at 80 hours a week. Now, most people I know don't do that. Most people that comment about raising the minimum wage don't do that. But let's put it in perspective that a good portion of people are going to try to work 80 hours per week, which means they pretty much have no life. They're working for their entire time, if you can even pull that, 8 hours in a day, and then maybe another 8 hours, so 16 hours a day, every day. For 40 hours. So that said, in the area that I live in, even at $15 an hour, people would have a hard time paying rent in the town. And so I think my question would be is, what are the solutions? Because that's just me, right? So that's not taking into consideration that maybe you have children and you have to pay for childcare, which is astronomical. That's not really sitting down and going, okay, let's figure out what rent, gas, electric, water, transportation, insurance, gas for your car, medical care if you could, because a lot of folks don't want to pay for, I think it's Medicaid, which is for the lower income folks. People don't want to pay for that, right? They don't want to pay for somebody else's stuff. And so I guess when I kind of look at it, I go, what's your answer? Like, what's your solution to that? Because you can have somebody that says, fine, I'll work 80 hours a week if I can, and I'm still going to not be able to get to a certain place in life. And then some folks go, well, then maybe you should go to school. Well, I've been in school now I'm finishing up my master's degree here in about a couple weeks. The cost of school is astronomical. So now you're going to lay on that person and go, okay, they're going to go get this time to try to get a degree or a skill, and then turn around and they're going to have to pay that back. And it would be great if a lot of times those were kept low, but a lot of times when you listen to financial aid officers, financial aid officers are loan officers, and a lot of times they're going to put students in debt that are going to take them a long time to pay off. It's more systemic. Like, people say, well, $15 an hour, that's not possible. And I'm like, well, somehow we've raised minimum wage collectively many times throughout the years, and we raised it in 2009, and people would say, well, our economy is booming right now, right? So somehow businesses will adjust, money will adjust, hours will adjust, right? But I guess my bigger question is if people don't want to do that, and we speak out so much against it, then what's your solution, right? What's your solution? Because people can say, well, I can work the hardest that I can work, I can try to live as cheap as I can live, which, in our capitalist society is a very hard thing to do. And then you turn around and go, I've done all that, now what? So I'd be curious if people want to include some of their information. Now, I'm going to bring up another point, and I want folks to understand where it's coming from, because I'm former military, so I'm coming from that standpoint. But when you look at, let's say, an 18 or 19-year-old that fresh comes out of high school, when they go in the military, most likely they're going as an E1. And as an E1, they're making like $800 or $900 a month. And people hear that and they go, holy crap. So if you did like $800-900 a month, broke it down over, 40-hour work weeks, times 4 is 160 hours, they don't make very much, right? And so people go, well, how is that possible? Well, because they get full medical care, full dental care, full vision. They can eat at a chow hall 3 times a day for free. They get a housing allowance, or they're given a dorm to stay in. So they're given food, shelter, medical care, the whole thing, but they get paid less. So just imagine when we're talking about, well, people have to pay more in taxes. Well, they get paid less, but they get all this other stuff. And you know, people go, well, this is our military. Well, not everybody in the military are soldiers in the sense that they go to war and fight. Some people are out there in services and they're cooking for people. They're administrators and working administration duties. Just like if somebody went out right here and was working as like a office assistant or office manager. So, and we look at that, we don't even think about that, but that's kind of the point, is they're doing an exchange. They're getting paid less, but the things that they need are provided. And we kind of hear it in the same way as we go, well, you know, we'd have to pay more in taxes, and who wants to do that? Well, but if you get medical care, you get, you know, all these things that are astronomical. Like, you know, when I was in the service, my wife, well, myself, I'll give you a perfect example. I had to go to the hospital for a heart issue when I was in the service, and I was in the hospital for a week. I couldn't have avoided it. It was actually something that was brought on by the military in a sense. And that bill was in the six figures. If I had not been in the military, I would have been bankrupt easily, or paid that off until I died. So there's a problem, right? And it's systemic, and there's an issue. And I guess what I would hope is, instead of people picking sides and saying, not me, well, we live in the United States. We like to really say that a lot. The United States is the greatest country in the world, right? And we live in the United States. But when it comes to wanting to take care of each other, we turn a lot into, I'll take care of me, you take care of you, but I'm not taking care of others. That's not very united. And so I guess my point being is, I know it's complicated, I know it's hard, but we're not having conversations about it, we're arguing. We're polarized, we're sitting on opposite sides, and we're thinking of ourselves and not necessarily thinking of all of us. And I don't know what that would mean for all of us to do that. So again, pushing my video a little bit, but if you have suggestions, put it down below. If you want to have a conversation, if you want to ask questions, but I'm very curious, and I'd like to see it. I would like to get us over this butting heads and fighting, and start talking about some real solutions as we go forward. So again, thank you for listening. Day 5, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.